Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be in the world. My name's Alistair, and this is my channel, Basic Books, where we talk about science fiction, fantasy, men's adventure, horror, whatever takes your fancy. So, I'd just like to talk today about an author, well, not an author, but a book I just read um, in a series that the author wrote back in the 60s, but it was more famous for other series that he wrote. For example, North and South, um, stuff that to do historically based in the conflict between the Confederates and the Union armies. And that guy is John Jakes. John Jakes was writing most prolifically in the 70s and 80s, but he began writing in the 50s, have been published in pulp science fiction magazines and fantasy magazines in the United States, and he was a contemporary of Lynn Carter and L. Sprague Camp, if you know anything about sword and sorcery, that kind of thing. Then you recognise those names. And John Jakes, although he became famous for his historical novels, his first claim to fame was a character called Brak the Barbarian. Now, this is a series of four novels, three novellas, and one collection of short stories. Now, I read the first one many years ago in my hometown. There used to be a shop in the shopping centre that would sell remaindered books. Generally, they would have a hole through them, or part of the cover cut off, or whatever. I expect they weren't supposed to be selling them, but it used to be a great place to pick up really trashy books that trashy to other people, but maybe not to certain people, like me, for example. It was one of the main publishers that they would be selling the remainders of was Zebra Books, or Zebra Books, depending where you are. But also lots of, shall we say, science fiction and fantasy, mostly of the trash kind. It's where I picked up the Horse Clan series by Richard Adams that I love until this day, but no longer have the whole set. But also where I read Brak the Barbarian. So I read Brak the Barbarian. I enjoyed it. I mean, I must have been, 14, 15 at the time. So it was aimed at me, a 1970s kid, reading sword and sorcery. Has been cut his teeth on the Conan series, and was looking for more, and came across Brak the Barbarian. So I picked up anything that was sword and sorcery. I mean, I was like, me and Mighty Thewed Barbarians were intimate, if you know what I mean. And I don't mean that kind of intimate either. But anyway, so Brak the Barbarian, I read the first one, which is called Brak the Barbarian. Then recently I came across this. This is the second book in the series. Can you see that? Yeah, there you go. Brak the Barbarian, the Sorceress. Okay, so this one was published by Tandem. It's quite an old one, and this was published in 1970. So in the UK. So it says Tandem Science Fantasy. I'm going to have to come to terms with this term, science fantasy, because I'm not a big fan of it. I know who coined it. It was Michael Moorcock, rather than sword and sorcery. But I still don't like science fantasy because it's fantasy, sword and sorcery. There's no science in it whatsoever. So yeah, so this was published in 1970, and I really enjoyed it. I kind of put my 1970s head on, and decided to read it. So I read it quite quickly because it's only, what was it, 156 pages long. So there was this character, and the other one was Thongor, which was written by Lynn Carter. This book, John Jakes dedicated to Lynn Carter, his friend Lynn Carter, who wrote pastiches of Conan, had his own character Thongor, which I've got a few books of that I quite enjoyed as well. So yeah, I mean today these would be, how can I say, morally questionable, shall we say. I mean his attitude to women is very 1970s and very sword and sorcery. There's also there doesn't seem to be any of the casual racism in it, but there certainly seems to be a lot of anger and angst, and it's something that I find very difficult. But anyway, Brak is from the northern steppes, the wild northern steppes. It doesn't say exactly. There's no geography, as it were, involved with the books. I don't know. I've got the third one in the series that I'm going to read, but there's no name for where he comes from. But there's a name for where he's going, and that is Kurdistan. And he's on a kind of vague quest to destroy the tyrannical wizard Septigundus. So the road is long to Kurdistan, barbarian. Beware of Septigundus, I will be there. Brak the Barbarian, outcast from the wild northern steppes of his own people, journeyed southward to golden Kurdistan. He rode alone through a world of savagery and sorcery, relying on his swordsmanship and his barbaric strength for protection. But far greater than the threat of man or beast was the menace of Septigundus, Amir on earth of the great evil Yob Hagoth, the Dark One. Already Brak has escaped once from a hideous death before the stone idol, but the arm of Septigundus was long, his powers of sorcery unmeasured. Would Brak ever reach his goal among the fabled cities of Kurdistan? Yeah, so there you go. That's his quest, as it were. Brak to distinguish him from Conan is blonde, and he wears a lion loincloth with the tail still attached. I mean, it's a loincloth made of lion skin, still with the tail attached, and he is waylaid on his journey south to Kurdistan, and he ends up being captured by a woman, a sorceress, as it were. But apparently, the sorceress, who was only the daughter of a certain alchemist, she has her soul has been overtaken by the soul of a woman who is the daughter of Septigundus, whose name I don't know and I can't remember. But anyway, that's not really important, to be quite honest. But It's he somehow becomes embroiled. Well, not somehow, because it seems to be preordained. Um, embroiled in a power play between the local king and this alchemist's daughter, who captures Brak to use in a sacrifice, an alchemical sacrifice, to change base metal into gold, supposedly, but actually it's a ceremony that will bring uh, Yob Hagoth, lovely pastiche Lovecraftian name, or Cthulhu-like name, uh, Yob Hagoth back onto the earth. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any big spoiler to tell you that Brak gets away, because I've already said that there's a third book in the series and this is number 2, so there you go. But it's how he does it. It's quite interesting. John Jakes in his in a kind of weird kind of way, he's trying to play with comparative religions, because there is, I mean, even though we don't know what kind of fantasy world this is. Generally, I mean, if you like R.E. Howard, you've got the Hyborian age, and the Hyborian age is the age before us, and that we know then it's a pseudo historic, or it's a pseudo historic time before the present day. In these books, in the Brak books, there's not, it doesn't say if it's like, or if it's like John Carter, who goes to Barsoom, or Carson Napier, who goes to Venus. We don't get that in this. It doesn't tell us who that is, and there's no defined world like Neverone in Samuel Delaney's books, or Lankmar in Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser books. So there's nothing that tells us. It's just Kurdistan and the northern steppes. But what's between one and the other, I don't know. And I find that actually quite refreshing. But what it does do, it brings about in a kind of I don't know, a very juvenile kind of way. It's talking a little bit about comparative religion, because it's talking about the many gods, and then there's this one god whose symbol happens to be two crosses, or two crossed pieces of wood. So yeah, it's a very clumsy analogy. And who's the god of love and the god of everything. So yeah, that was Brak the Barbarian, the Sorceress, number 2 in the series. I've got number 3, but I enjoyed it. It was a quick read. I mean, I read it in a couple of days, and that's because I put it down because I had things to do. But yeah, I mean, you can breeze through this in a couple of hours, really, if you wanted to do that. But I highly recommend Brak the Barbarian. All I would say is that park your modern sensibilities at the door, and go back into a less judgmental time, shall we say? Not innocent, because they weren't innocent times, but in a less judgmental time, and read it in that kind of a spirit, if you like. And I think you'll get a lot of enjoyment. There's action, there's a little bit of sex, though not a lot. There's voluptuous women and horrible beasts to fight. So, yeah, to say, park your sensibilities at the door, and just go in for a quick, entertaining read. Brak the Barbarian, the Sorceress. So that's it for this one. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again soon.